Hello friends, hello professionals. I'm back with another video. A bit of focus on the tech space, FinTech space actually. I am going to look at today what regulators can do to encourage innovation. If you are a financial services provider interested in integrating technology into what you do, be it smart contracts or other platforms, then this is the video for you. And if you're a regulator in financial services and you are interested in perhaps what other regulators are doing or what you should be doing if you're not doing it already, then this is also the video for you. So before I jump in, let me get my usual disclaimers out of the way. I am a financial services regulator. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm definitely not a lawyer. So the views on this channel are my own and not the views of any regulatory authority or international standard setting body. And with that out of the way, let's dive in. Now, there are a number of financial services regulators that are doing an excellent job in relation to embracing innovation and encouraging people in the fintech space to actually help change what we know as financial services towards making it better for a digital world. And I'm excited about those things. There's so many opportunities for development within the Caribbean region, which is where I am based, that I can't not be excited about it. In another video, I spoke about some of the challenges that we have in cross-border payments and in integrating with the rest of the world in terms of doing business. We have a lot of deficiencies in that space. We have higher credit card fees. So in the rest of the world, they may pay 1.5% to 2%. In the Caribbean, we can pay 3 to 5%. So there's a lot that's being said about level playing fields, but I can tell you this, there are a number of different areas where that playing field is not level by any stretch of the imagination. We also have issues with wire transfers taking a week, sometimes 10 days, and in really extreme cases, it could even be more than 2 weeks long. And in the 21st century, that just shouldn't be. So there are certain projects that I am excited by that would facilitate real-time global transfers, that would help businesses to actually do better and interface better with the rest of the world. Can you imagine trying to buy something for your store and you're ordering it from some far-flung part of the world and you have to send a wire transfer and it takes a week to 2 weeks to get there? I mean, by the time you get the goods, they may not even be needed anymore. If you're in the Caribbean and you have to dodge hurricanes, think about the logistical challenges of shipping that thing at certain times of the year. So there are a lot of things that I think regulators might not necessarily be focused on in terms of the impact of integrating innovation into financial services. So the first thing that I think regulators need to do is accelerate legislative reform. Change some of those archaic laws. You cannot use the same laws for some of the technological advances that are right at our feet. You just can't. You can try, but I think that we have to be honest with ourselves and say, you know, if I've had this piece of legislation on the book for 20, 30 years, in a time before there was cryptocurrency, is it really fit for purpose? And does an amendment fix the issue? Chances are it may be time to overhaul that particular piece of legislation or suite of legislation. And that's one of the spaces that I actually like to work in. We have to be progressive thinkers as regulators. We have to think ahead. Just as I mentioned about criminals being the quickest adopters of innovation, regulators need to be adopters of innovation as well, so that we can keep pace in doing the things that regulators are supposed to be doing, like protecting the public, like maintaining financial stability, like educating the public. But how can we do any of these things if we're behind the curveball with archaic legislation that's older than some of us? So if I had to say there was one huge thing that regulators needed to do, it would be to accelerate your legislative reform process. The next thing that I think regulators need to do is deep training and recruitment of new staff for your authority. Now again, I had the disclaimer up, so these are definitely my views, but some regulators might do well to hire some people who might not be your conventional regulators. You might need some coders. You might need some consultants in the first instance. Because it's a very hot and fast moving space, you may need to actually delve into who you can acquire or who you can hire or have an engagement with to help build up your resources and understanding of all the things that's going on in the digital asset space and how to integrate it, or even if to integrate it into your framework. And I say if because there's some jurisdictions that have already taken a stance that they're not going to integrate certain aspects of the digital asset industry. And that is a decision for a country to make. I can't tell them what to do. But what I see happening in relation to that is that you'll have a number of jurisdictions that are going to have an about face. We've already seen some jurisdictions pivot wildly on whether they're going to allow cryptocurrencies or not. And if you can think of some, drop them in the comments below. But there are a lot of discussions that are happening in the regulatory space that leads me to my next point. As regulators, we need to divorce ourselves of preconceptions. And if you know me, you know I'm a bit of a sci-fi fan. So I'll use a Vulcan proverb. Challenge your preconceptions, or they most certainly will challenge you. You can't have a preconception about a new space because of a narrative or certain narratives that are being pushed. And there are some truths and misconceptions in the space. And coming from the part of the world that I do, I'm familiar with preconceptions, with people who might not understand half of what goes on, or even more than half of what goes on where I live and where I'm from. But that's a different discussion for a different day. Cryptocurrencies are not the devil. Digital assets are not bad. They do not facilitate more financial crime than other things. There are other ways to commit financial crimes that have been going on for centuries, and we didn't vilify those. So we have to actually have a better appreciation and understanding of the space. One of the areas of concerns that I've seen is this push to get rid of wallets. So your Ledger Nano X, and yes, I have one. I actually have two, but that's, again, different video. Why would you want to do that as a regulator? Because nobody is telling me that I cannot have my own personal purse, wallet, with my fiat cash and credit cards in it. Nobody's telling me that. I think we need to stop getting tied up as regulators. We need to stop getting tied up in the newness of it and villainizing things when we don't really apply critical thinking to it. Or maybe you have and you've seen an issue, but I don't see the typologies written in relation to unhosted wallets or cold storage wallets. I understand why there would be concerns, but it's a similar concern as to why certain places might have bricks of money in a back room, and you're thinking they're doing something nefarious. But in my mind's eye, you know the address of a number of wallets. You may not know who owns them, but law enforcement cases have recently proven that they can get after the bad actors who use cryptocurrency, even in unhosted wallets, because to get those crypto assets out, they have to go someplace, and that wallet address is always known. So again, we can't vilify the space when it's so new unless we really delve deeply into understanding the different issues. It's also important to have deep training of the regulators, and there are a lot of programs that are available now by leading universities. I think it's important for not just senior staff to get this training, because you have to think about succession planning in any organization, not just a regulatory authority, but have that deep training and explore your ranks, because what I've learned is that the staff you may not expect to be interested in this space may not only be interested, but more knowledgeable than you. And it may be an opportunity for them to, be promoted and have a whole new career path because they have been more turned on into this space than you have for a longer period of time. So deep training and explore who within your staff might be interested in doing more and becoming more. Some people are just naturals in this particular space. And I speak about whether you speak regulation. There's some people who speak tech and code much better than they speak regulation in the regulatory space. So don't miss out on talent that you potentially have within your organization. The last thing that I would add at this point in time is for regulatory authorities to get on working groups that are not just composed of other regulators. It may be a bit of an uncomfortable space for some if you've not done this in the past, but it's one of the things that I think is important because there is so much dynamic change that's happening around the world. It is important for you to get a broad understanding of the different issues that are coming up. There are regulatory groups that are emerging, and if you can think of one or two, feel free to put them in the comments below if you're a regulator. I am familiar with one, the Global Financial Innovation Network, or GFIN. It's based out of the UK with the Financial Conduct Authority, and they do great work. Now, again, nothing confidential here because I still have an oath of confidentiality, but they publish findings and information from their engagement with other regulators. You can go on their website and see the member countries. I'll put the website link in the description below so that you can see it. And if you're in a regulatory authority that's not a member of GFIN, again, I can't tell you what to do, but it may be something worth exploring because the insights would help you to consider what part of your framework needs further development. Now, I've said a lot in relation to what regulators can do. If you can think of something else that you think regulators should do, and you can't put go away because regulators are not going away. But if there's something that you think regulators should do to help innovation in financial services, definitely drop it in the comments below. I want to get the comments on what you would have to say in relation to this, regardless as to whether you're a regulator or not. What do you think regulators should do in terms of making sure that there's better integration? If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I will have a lot of diverse content coming up on all things regulation. Make sure you hit the like button, it helps the algorithm. And share with your friends, whether they're in financial services or not, because there's definitely more videos coming out soon that may be of interest to you. And until then, I'll see you on my next video.